I would now like to just spend a minute talking about, or maybe 4 minutes talking about, what the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity actually mean, and how a market adjusts and what is being told by this supply and demand graph. So let's imagine, to begin with, that prices, instead of being at equilibrium, are down here. So the price of tofu, say, is relatively inexpensive. And what happens at this price is suppliers only supply this much. And if they're only supplying this much at this low price, consumers are demanding this much. So the manufacturers are making this much. Consumers would consume all the way out to here, but there just isn't enough supply. So what happens? Well, what happens is that the suppliers discover that the tofu is flying off the shelves, their warehouses are empty. There's just not tofu to be had or found in the stores anymore, because as soon as you get a shipment of tofu in, consumers come and snap it up. Well, what does any enterprising businessman do? The enterprising businessman or businesswoman raises prices. So now the suppliers say, you know what, we're going to raise prices. And they keep raising prices. As they raise prices, the number of tubs of tofu sold drops and drops and drops until, bang, you hit equilibrium. And at equilibrium, they're in the following situation. Let's say that they overdo it. Now I'm going to jump the ruler up a little bit. Let's say that this is the price now. Now the price is so high that the supply that they're willing to manufacture is actually greater than the quantity over here that consumers demand. So what happens in the stores? Well, they're charging too much. The stuff piles up. The tofu is filling up the warehouses. Suddenly you realize, if you're a manufacturer, smart business person, you should start cutting prices in order to get that tofu out of there, because it's costing you money to, pay to keep it cold and all of that, or it's going past its due-by date. So you start cutting prices, and you keep cutting prices down until, bang, this point here, again, the intersection where the market's clear. So if the price is too high, up in this region, you have excess supply, in which case the producers need to cut prices in order to get the supply out of the warehouses. If you're down here and the product is priced too cheaply, the warehouses are empty, the stores are empty, and what the producers can do is raise prices. As they raise prices, they produce more of it, or their competitors do, and simultaneously consumers are less and less interested in the product. And the equilibrium point is where supply and demand exactly match each other, and you have, therefore, an equilibrium price and an equilibrium quantity. The term that's often used for that in economics is that that's the place where the market clears. So that's how the supply and demand curves intersect, and how markets ultimately drive themselves to the equilibrium price and quantity.